Globalization has encouraged countries to strengthen their economies through international trade and economic cooperation. In this context, free trade agreements, FTAs, help facilitate the exchange of goods and services between nations, promoting economic growth and international integration. Mexico is one of the countries with the greatest participation in trade agreements, highlighting agreements such as the USMCA and the CPTPP, which have boosted exports, foreign investment, and the country's competitiveness. This video will explain the levels of economic integration, as well as the benefits, disadvantages, and effects of FTAs in Mexico. What is a free trade agreement? A free trade agreement, FTA, is a binding agreement between two or more countries that reduces or eliminates trade barriers such as tariffs and import restrictions to promote international trade and economic growth. Goals: increase international trade, facilitate access to international markets, attract foreign investment, generate employment and economic growth, improve business competitiveness. Advantages: greater access to international markets, increase in exports and economic growth, attraction of foreign investment and job creation, greater variety of products and more competitive prices, access to new technologies and production modernization, elimination of trade barriers and facilitation of commerce. Disadvantages: economic dependence on partner countries, unequal competition for domestic producers and small businesses, risk to sensitive national industries, such as agriculture, regional inequality due to concentrated investments, vulnerability to external crises or changes in trade policies, loss of tariff revenues for the government.
Levels of economic integration are the different stages or degrees of cooperation and union that two or more countries can reach to facilitate and strengthen their economic, trade, and financial relations. These levels represent a progressive process in which countries eliminate barriers and coordinate policies to achieve greater interdependence and mutual benefits. Among the main levels of economic integration are 1. Preferential trade area. This consists of a partial reduction of tariffs on specific products among member countries without eliminating them completely. A prime example, Generalized System of Preferences, GSP. 2. Free trade area. Member countries eliminate tariffs and trade restrictions among themselves, while each country maintains its own trade policy toward non-member countries. Examples are USMCA and CPTPP. 3. Customs union. In addition to internal free trade, member countries establish a common external tariff, CET, and a unified trade policy toward non-member countries. Example, the Andean Community, CAN. 4. Common market. Combines the characteristics of a customs union and allows the free movement of factors of production such as capital, labor, and services. Example, Mercosur and the European Union in their early stages. 5. Economic union and total integration. Countries harmonize their economic, fiscal, and monetary policies and may even share a common currency and a supranational authority. Example, the European Union with the euro as its common currency. Each level implies a greater degree of integration and cooperation, with advantages such as increased trade, investment, and economic growth, but also challenges in policy coordination and national sovereignty.
Mexico has more than 13 free trade agreements in force, placing it among the countries with the broadest trade coverage worldwide. Its geographic location, bordering the United States and with access to both the Pacific and Atlantic Oceans, makes it a strategic hub for international trade. The most significant agreement is the USMCA, which entered into force in 2020 and replaced NAFTA. This treaty regulates trade between Mexico, the United States, and Canada, its main trading partners. The effects are quite concrete. Most tariffs were eliminated, customs procedures were simplified, and rules of origin were updated, particularly in the automotive sector. There are also provisions on e-commerce, something the original NAFTA did not even address. Then there is the EU-Mexico Free Trade Agreement, the treaty with the European Union, in effect since 2000 and recently modernized. It allows European products to enter Mexico with reduced or zero tariffs, especially in machinery, technology, and pharmaceuticals. Conversely, Mexican products also have preferential access to the European market. There is also the CPTPP, the Trans-Pacific Partnership, which opened doors to Asia, Japan, Vietnam, and Australia. This has been important for certain industrial sectors that need inputs from that region. The most direct effect is cost reduction. When a company imports inputs from a country with which Mexico has a trade agreement, it can pay zero or very low tariffs, which translates into cheaper production and more competitive prices. Another important effect is what's happening with nearshoring. As a result of the USMCA and the realignment of global supply chains after the pandemic, many foreign companies have decided to establish operations in Mexico to produce closer to the US market. This is attracting investment and generating employment in several northern states and the Bajío region. But it hasn't all been positive. Mexican agriculture, for example, was one of the sectors hardest hit after NAFTA because it couldn't compete with the scale and subsidies of US agriculture. And today, many companies don't take full advantage of the agreements because they lack the correct documentation, are unfamiliar with the rules of origin, or make mistakes in classifying their products. In short, free trade agreements have transformed the Mexican economy. More exports, more investment, and more developed logistics. But they have also created winners and losers, and their actual benefit depends heavily on how well companies and sectors prepare to use them.
Current examples of Mexico's free trade agreements. Mexico has 14 active free trade agreements with 52 countries, making it one of the most open economies in the world. Among the most important and current agreements are the USMCA, TMEC, and the CPTPP. USMCA, United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement. The USMCA entered into force on July 1, 2020, replacing NAFTA. It is Mexico's most important trade agreement, as around 80% of Mexican exports go to the United States and Canada. Main objectives: strengthen North American economic integration, facilitate trade and supply chains, regulate areas such as digital trade, environment, and labor rights. Benefits: increase in Mexican exports, greater foreign investment, job creation in manufacturing, growth of automotive and electronic industries. Current issues: the USMCA is currently facing reviews and negotiations related to energy, automotive rules, and regional trade ahead of the 2026 review process. CPTPP, Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership. The CPTPP entered into force in 2018 and includes 11 countries such as Japan, Canada, Australia, Chile, and Mexico. This agreement helps Mexico strengthen its presence in the Asia-Pacific region. Main objectives: diversify international trade, reduce economic dependence on the United States, promote innovation and investment protection, benefits: access to new Asian markets, growth in agricultural and electronic exports, greater international competitiveness, trade opportunities with dynamic Pacific economies. Current issues: the CPTPP has boosted Mexico's trade growth in strategic sectors and represents an important alternative in the global market, especially in Asia.
Economic integration has allowed Mexico to strengthen its participation in international trade through agreements such as the USMCA and the CPTPP, boosting exports, foreign investment, and job creation. However, challenges such as economic dependence, competition for small businesses, and regional inequality still exist, making it important to promote more balanced and sustainable growth. Critical reflection. Free trade agreements have been essential for Mexico's economic growth and global integration, boosting exports, foreign investment, and the development of manufacturing and technological sectors. However, their benefits have not been distributed equally, as they have also created challenges such as economic dependence, competition for small businesses, and regional inequality, especially between the northern and southern regions of the country. Therefore, it is necessary for trade liberalization to be accompanied by public policies that strengthen education, innovation, and support for vulnerable sectors. Beyond increasing trade, the true importance of FTAs lies in their ability to promote more inclusive, balanced, and sustainable economic development for the entire population.